Hello and welcome to this third video in this series on Shopify Theme Development. In the first video, we covered what a theme is and where it sits in the context of the Shopify environment. In the second video, we learned what data is contained in your theme and what data remains the same while changing themes. In this video, we'll be getting into the nitty-gritty, discussing the actual process of updating and developing Shopify themes. So let's get into it. So you have an online store already, but you want to change the way it looks and operates. Or maybe you're building your first online store. Either way, the process is quite similar, because for most people, building a Shopify theme from scratch is usually a poor idea. Let me show you what I mean. So I've jumped inside another development store of mine. This one's called Chris Testing Shop, and this is where I do a bunch of different theme experiments. One of them is creating a new theme using ThemeKit. So new theme is a command in ThemeKit, and it basically gives you a blank starting theme. So let's have a look at what that would look like. All right, so pretty basic. There's nothing on the homepage apart from this menu up here. If I click on catalog, it'll take me to the all collection, which shows me all of my products. I have some demo products in this fake store. Let's say I want to buy this tuxedo. This is all fully functioning. Might look terrible, but it actually works. So I can click add to cart. There's a cart here. If I click checkout, I can't actually go to checkout because I'm on a development store. But you get the point. You can actually go through pretty much everything you could do. Here's some blog posts I stole from Shopify's website just to fill out my store with blog posts. So you could start from this point, but as you can see, it's so bare. There's not even a footer. Your header is literally just a bunch of links. There are no styles, basically. I don't think there's any CSS in this theme whatsoever. So maybe it's going to be the case where you're just doing something so custom that you need to, start from a starting point like this. But most of the time, and even in my experience developing themes for clients, I've never really started from this starting point or anything similar. We always start from an existing theme. And to contrast that with what you just saw, this is Debut, which is a free theme that comes with the current version of Shopify. If I view that, this is already a much nicer starting point. I can use my own icons here. I can update the fonts and everything, but at least I've got, a framework. At least I've got some things already in there. And that's why I recommend everyone start with an existing theme. Unless you've got very specific needs, it just makes sense to, use this as a starting point and go from there. So that should make it pretty clear. Most of the time, you should use an existing theme as a starting point, whether that be a theme you've already worked on or something brand new from the theme store. Let's start with the free theme Debut. So I'm back in my development store, and right in front of me, I have a fresh copy of the Debut theme. Doesn't matter what theme you're starting with. This is the one that just came pre-installed on my Shopify store when I started it. This is a free theme. You can use a bunch of different free themes from Shopify. Basically, we're starting from scratch with this theme, but I will admit I'm not starting from scratch when it comes to the shop because I have put in some demo products. So you're going to have to put in some products, whether they're real or just to play around with. If you want a CSV that you can import to get all of these files into your store, just comment below and I'll find a way to send it to you. Okay? All right, so we are starting from scratch here. And if it's the live theme, we can actually click here to edit the homepage. And now we're in the theme customizer. So we have pretty good control already. There's a lot of things we can do. We can update the logo. We can change the menu that is linked here. We can have an announcement bar up the top, and we can change the text on that. It's pretty good, and this is why I recommend, having one of these themes as a starting point. You've got lots of different options. We saw in an earlier video me changing that color. All right, so let me show you some of the stuff you could do here. We're in this image with text overlay. We can set a background image And then instead of image with text overlay, shop the new range, and that'll update pretty quickly after I write it in here. Okay. Now, this is what I recommend you do when you're trying to customize your online store. You want to use the full abilities of the Shopify theme customizer. Say, for instance, you wanted to reduce this section height. Look in your customizer settings. Here we go. Section height. There we go. So it's right there. It doesn't make sense to go into the code unless you wanted a more precise height specification. It just makes sense that you would use what you have available here in your customizer. But let's say, for instance, you go into this section, which is a featured collection section. And first of all, I need to link to a collection because this is all just placeholder content. And I'm going to add an actual featured collection. Okay. Now, here we have a few options that are available in our theme. We can check this box and it'll show the product vendors. Now, don't take much notice to the actual words here, but you'll notice that underneath our product title, there is a product vendor, and that is what you've set up in the actual product. So to show you the actual product, if I go to this one, awesome sneakers, and I go over here to organization, you can see the vendor is what's set here. So I'm just toggling that on, and now you can see the vendor underneath it. Now, one customization that I see I can't do here in this section is add the product type. So product type is another attribute on your products, and I've set it to kicks. What about if I wanted kicks to show up instead of vendors? Maybe I don't even care about vendors. I want this to be an option for kicks instead. Well, that is an example of where you might need to dig into your theme code. And in this case, that is likely to be the only way that we can change that is by digging into the theme code, changing the option here and using a different attribute to display here. Okay, so that right there is an example of doing what you can in the customizer, but when you run into a roadblock like this, that's when, okay, now I need to jump into the theme code. A good rule of thumb is to make sure that the part of your theme that you want to customize is not already an available option in the customizer first before trying to solve your issue with code. But now when you've gotten to that stage where you need to start digging into your theme code, where do you start? Well, you could dive straight into the Shopify admin, click edit code and update files right in your theme code editor, but there is a better way to do it, and it's using a tool called ThemeKit. ThemeKit is a command line tool that allows you to download your theme to your computer and work with it what's called locally, rather than update it on your Shopify admin itself. The advantages to this are that you can use proper code editing software, plus you can manage your code base through the version control system, Git, or other likewise systems. Now, if this is all starting to sound a bit too complicated, don't worry about it. You can always edit your code through the Shopify admin, nothing wrong with that. But for any big code changes, I definitely recommend downloading your theme code and working with it on your own computer. When it comes to ThemeKit, if you'd like to see a full tutorial on setting it all up, check out lesson 4 of my Skillshare class on Shopify Theme Development, or simply head to the documentation at shopify.github.io/themekit. Okay, let's return to our example of changing product vendor to product type. Our first step is determining where we need to go in our code in order to make that change. And for that, we need to take a step back and look at how the Shopify theme is structured. This is a diagram I created to explain the Shopify theme structure. If you check the links in the description, I'll make it available for you guys to download and save to your computer. I recommend you do that because in a moment, we'll be looking at how the structure you see in the diagram is reflected in the actual folder structure of your theme code. Now, as a side note, in my Skillshare class, I have a total of 3 lessons that span over an hour worth of explanations on how this all works. So if you want to go deep into this, check out those lessons. But for this video, we're just going to do a quick overview. First of all, let's open up our theme code. Doesn't matter which theme in our Shopify admin. And what I'm going to do is put the diagram up on the right here and have the folder structure here on the left side by side so you can see how this all connects. Actually, I'm just going to simplify the diagram first, as I don't want to confuse you with too much detail. Now, before we start, it's important to mention that if you're watching this video a year or so from now, this structure may be completely different. Recently, Shopify announced that they're planning to update the theme to allow greater flexibility through master pages and sections everywhere. So just a heads up that you might see something a little different if you're watching this video well into the future. For now, this is what the Shopify theme structure looks like. At the top, you've got layout, templates, sections, and then snippets, just like in the diagram. You've obviously got assets here, config, and locales. We had a quick look at config in an earlier video. This is where your data and the options available to change your data are stored in these JSON files. But in terms of theme structure, if you had to go and make a change to your website and you had to dig into the code, this is where you would do it in these 4 different folders. So at the top, you've got layout. And to be honest, you're probably not going to spend a lot of time in layout. Usually people only have one layout for their whole theme. And this one has one layout called theme.liquid. And this is the layout for pretty much every page in this theme. So there's a lot of, as you can see, liquid code. So anything that has this curly bracket and then the percentage sign is liquid code. We'll talk about liquid in a later video. But all I want you to notice is you've got your head section. So you should be familiar with HTML and what the head section and body section is. So you'll see the whole head section is here. It has a tag here for your special options that will go into your head. But for the most part, if you need to edit your head directly, you would do it in the layout. Then you've got the body down here, and you can put in some stuff that's going to be on every single page here. So stuff like a drawer or anything that follows you around the whole website. And then you're going to link to your header and footer in sections. And then right here is content for layout. Now inside content for layout is where your template will be shown. So right here, you've got, a lot of them are quite self-explanatory, like collection.liquid. This is the template that's going to show up when you're on a collection page. And if you go to any like regular page, like a content page, not a product or a collection, this is the template that you would edit. If you're on the search page, this is the template you would edit. And index is going to be your home page. You've also got article, cart, if you have a cart page. And you might be noticing something here, and that is that in some of these, you've got very stripped down versions of the template with just a link to a section. So I think we saw that in collection template as well. And you might be wondering why even have this template to begin with. Well, the reason why it's linking directly to a section and not including really any code at all in this template is because sections are kind of like the intelligent, customizable parts of your Shopify theme. Okay, so for instance, rather than just writing everything in the collection template, if I go into this section and find the collection template, which it links directly to, you can see I've got everything that shows up on the collection page. I'm using the collection object, which is available on the collection page. But if you scroll down, you can see a schema. And this is set up in the exact same way as your schema down here in config that we saw before. But this is specific to just that section. Okay, I'm going to show you that. Actually, I'll show you that right now. So I'm going to open this in a new tab so we can keep this all open. And I'm going to open up the customizer. Now in the customizer, you can click here to change the page that you're customizing, or the set of pages. So this is our collection template, and you can see here, this is a section. So header is a section, footer is a section, and they're contained in our layout. So they're going to appear on every page that uses that layout, which is basically every page. Okay? But this is the section for collection pages. And the benefit of using a section and including all your code in a section is you can provide customization options. And you do that through a schema. So as you can see here, I know this is getting pretty deep pretty quickly, but as you can see, we've got different inputs here. So a type of select, and the label is products per grid. And here are the definitions of the options. So if we look over products per grid, and here are the different options. Okay, and I think this should load. Yeah, this live updates, which is another awesome feature of the customizer. That's why I say if you can do something in the customizer, definitely do it in the customizer. Don't dig into the code until you need to. So if you wanted to add a new part to your page, or pretty much control the whole template of your page with settings that you can change in the customizer, you're definitely going to be using some sort of section. Okay. Now, we could go much deeper into sections than I do in my Skillshare class, but for now, we've got to move on with the rest of the different types here. So, we've got one more, and it's snippets. Snippets should be pretty easy to understand. It's just reusable bits of code. So if we look at the diagram, snippets can be inserted anywhere. I'm not sure if we have a snippet in our layout. Snippets are included by using the include keyword. Here we go. So we've got here the include tag and the name of the snippet to include. And if we look through here, it's all arranged in alphabetical order. We should be able to see, here we go, social meta tags. So all snippets does is any code that's in that snippet, if you write include and write the name of the snippet, it literally just takes the code from here, dumps it right in there. Nothing too special about it. There's no schema or anything. It's just a way to organize your code, especially if you're going to be reusing code over and over again for different sections. Okay? Yeah, just know that if there's something that you're going to be using in multiple places, maybe create a snippet for it first. Now, I know this is a really quick overview of your theme structure, but really what you want to do when you're, making a theme customization to your code, you kind of want to start from the top of the diagram, from the top of this structure, and work your way down. So is this something that's going to be on every page? If so, you're probably going to be changing your layout file. And if you only have one layout file, it's probably going to be called theme.liquid. Okay? Maybe you want your customization specifically on collection pages. In that case, you're going to go to collection and you're going to see this link directly to a section. So you're going to skip templates altogether and you're going to go down to collection template. Here, if you want to change something, you dig right in and change it, unless there is an include in here. There we go, include pagination. So maybe you wanted to change the pagination on your collection pages. Well, then you go down and find the code for that snippet. Just a warning, if it's a snippet, it could be included in multiple parts of your theme. So if you change it, change the actual code in your pagination snippet right here, that's gonna affect all the places that you call that snippet, okay? So maybe if you want it just on the collection template, you create a new version of this and include that, or just write it in where the snippet was, okay? The other thing to be aware of is what objects are available in what templates, okay? So your templates not only control, say for instance, what shows up when you go to the collection page. In order to dynamically affect the collection, going back to the collection template, you need access to the collection object. So you can see here the call to the collection object. This is getting a bit more into liquid, but basically the good thing about these templates is if you're on the collection template or in a section that is included on the collection template, you have access to the collection that is being served on that page and you can update it. So say for instance, you wanted to put something after every collection title. So you've got collection here, .title. You can add some text after that. I don't know what you would want to put after that. Maybe you want to say title specifically. Let's just do that now. Hit save. And you'll see if we go to collection page, any collection page, that title is in front of your collection title. Okay? Not a very practical example, but shows you where you can make theme customizations. Okay? Essentially, that is the really quick overview of your theme structure, looking at it through a diagram and also through the folders, but it is set up nicely in Shopify to the point where if you look at it from top down, that's kind of how it works. Except for snippets, they can be inserted in any of these three. So we're on a different store now, but it doesn't matter, we're on the same theme. So let's do that code change we identified earlier in the video when we were looking at what we can customize in the customizer. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is go to customize theme, get back to that point where we figured out the option that we wanted to customize. It was actually in the homepage featured collection section, and it was this button here. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that. And let's go through the process of how we would actually make this work. Now, I need to say one thing on the homepage. You notice how on your homepage, you've got all these sections that you can actually reorder. You can actually delete the section altogether, or you can even add a new section. And that is because your homepage has a special tag on it. It's the content for index tag. Okay, so if I go into index.liquid, you've got this tag content for index. If you put that on any of your templates, you're going to get the same thing. You're going to get this really dynamic block that you can add in multiple sections and reorder them. All right, so the first step is to identify where we need to make the change. And it's not going to be on the homepage template because we just looked at it and it's this dynamic content for index. So we need to think a bit deeper and think about what section we are wanting to customize. And it is the featured collection section. Now, unfortunately, the name of the actual file and the title that shows up here might not be the same or even close to being the same. But if you're able to search your entire code base, you can search for the field. The actual title appears in the schema of the section. Let me show you how that works. So I'm going to look for something that looks like featured collection. Maybe it's this one, collection.liquid. And as you can see here in the schema, the name has been set to featured collection. So this we now know is the section that we're interacting with here. Okay. Now, I know you might not be familiar with Liquid, but bear with me. I just want you to get the concept here in a practical way. We will talk about Liquid perhaps in a future video. So what we're going to look for is a reference to vendor. So we are showing product vendor here. It's got to be somewhere in this section. Okay. So let me just search for it using Control F, vendor. So here you've got the actual option to show the vendor. That's the checkbox that you see here. That is defined in your schema. If you remove that completely, you won't get that checkbox. But what we're looking for is where it's actually included in this section. And our search for the word vendor doesn't show up anywhere else but here. And that suggests to me that there might be a snippet. And as you can see, there are a few includes here. So it looks like we might have to edit this file, product-card-grid. So I'm going to go into my snippets folder and look for that snippet. Product/card/grid. Now you can see here, if show vendor is on, then we're going to put in this HTML element, and inside we're going to have vendor. So let's customize that right now. Instead of vendor, I'm going to put in type. Okay. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to refresh my customizer, and I need to go back into that section. I'm going to click show product vendors, and now you can see that Kix is showing up, not the vendor. This is the actual product type, not the vendor that's set on the product. So there's one more thing that we want to change before we click save and say we've done the customization, and that's we want to change the text in the option, because it's saying show product vendors. If a user were to click on that and it shows up type, that would be confusing. So we need to change it there as well. And so what I'm going to do, I'm also going to change, I might not change the class because it could break it. You'll need to go into your style sheet for that. But instead of calling the option show vendor, I'm going to call it show type, save that. And then the other part is in our schema. So we need to go back to the collection.liquid section, come down to where it has show vendor, and instead of show vendor, I'm going to call it show type, and in the label that shows up to the end user, call it show product type. I'm going to hit save, and then again refresh the customizer, head back into our section, and here we've got show product type. If we turn that on, we've got product type rather than product vendor. So that is an example of something that's quite small, but an example of when you might need to dig into your theme code. As always, make sure that you have tried to do it through your customizer, but if that option is simply not there, you might have to dig in and actually do your customization. Alright, I feel like we've covered a lot in this video, but essentially that is the whole process, at least in the context of a basic workflow. However, as I mentioned towards the start of this video, if you're doing any big customizations or working on a store that already has a lot of traffic and sales, you're probably going to want to use a tool like ThemeKit, and you'll want to figure out how you're going to properly stage your changes before they go live. And that's exactly what we'll get into in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for new videos. Also, if you can't wait for new videos on Shopify, definitely check out my course on Shopify. I'll link it up in the first link in the description. Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next one.